Hello. Today we're going to go through a quick and simple example of using the Visual Studio LightSwitch Beta 2 to create a forms over data application that we're going to upload and run on Windows Azure, and we're going to be connected to a SQL Azure database backend. So I've downloaded Service Pack 1 for Visual Studio 2010, and I've also installed the LightSwitch beta. So what I can do here is I can say from within Visual Studio, create new project. And because I have installed this LightSwitch product, I have an opportunity to choose a LightSwitch project. So I'm going to just choose a LightSwitch project, and this is going to be a contact management system. Say OK. Okay, great. So that brings me into the LightSwitch designer, and since these LightSwitch projects tend to be based on data, it's saying here that we can either create a new table or attach to an external data source. I'm going to just go ahead and create a new table here, and I'm going to make this as simple as possible. So it's just going to be a simple one table where I can store some name and contact information. This data is a SQL Server database, and it's actually hosted in the SQL Server Express edition that's running on my developer machine here. But what happens is that during the publish process, the schema but not the data in this database is migrated and is pushed up to SQL Azure. So okay, I'm going to just go ahead here and rename this thing contacts, and we can now go ahead and design the table. Pretty simple. There are some special fields that this kind of database wrapper provides for us. Great. So there's my table. I could design additional tables here, and I can also specify the relationships between those tables. So it's a pretty powerful design surface, visual design surface for creating your database. Okay, so with our database designed, I'll just go ahead and save that. We can now add one or more screens, and again we get a nice wizard here that allows us to create very quickly some predefined screen formats. So I'm going to make one here that's going to be for entering new data, and I'm going to attach that to my contact source and say OK. And it gives me a designer here that I can use to do the layout, to create the layout of my screen. And I also have some code behind option, so that this in essence can become a true multi-tier application where business logic can be included in this way here. But mine is going to be just a very simple project that's going to not involve any code, so I'm going to just accept the defaults for this screen. And I'm going to just create another screen as well here. This is going to be a search data screen, so that when I've got some data in my database, I can retrieve it using this screen, and once again I will wire that up to the contacts data source. Great, so save that off, and I think we should be pretty much set to go here, and let's see if this application will build and run. And I'm going to just run it here on my local machine first, just to make sure that it does what we want it to do. This will take a few seconds to build and deploy, and if it's successful, I will come back in a few moments. Great. Our application is running here on my local host, and as you see, this is a Silverlight application, and I can go ahead and enter data and save it off, and cool. So yeah, okay, pretty rudimentary application here, but you know, not bad, fairly easy, fairly painless to build. Didn't have to write any code at all to make this happen, and that's kind of what the idea behind LightSwitch is. So now that we've got this, let's see if we can deploy it to Azure. And I've had to set a few things up on Azure. I've got in my Azure portal here, you can see I've got a hosted service with nothing deployed, but this is where I'm going to deploy this application. I've got a certificate uploaded into that service that we will use here as part of the authentication program. I have a couple of storage accounts over here. I've got a SQL database, SQL Azure database called KK Database 2 set up, and just to show what's going on here, I am connected to that database in SQL Server Management Studio, and there are in fact no tables in that database, so it's an empty database. But the point is here to show how the publish wizard will migrate my schema from my local SQL Express instance, my Express Edition instance, to SQL Azure. Okay, so let's see how this publish process works. I'm going to go back over to Visual Studio and select my project, and I'm going to say publish. Great, so here is where I now say, do I want a desktop or web application? So this is going to be a web application, which will in fact turn out to be running on Azure, but at this point it could be just a normal web application running on a in-house IIS server. So in fact here I'm going to say I do want to use Windows Azure. And I need to have my subscription ID, which I have carefully placed on my clipboard. And I can go ahead and paste that in there. And my certificate, I will use this certificate called KK Certificate 1. Great, which I know is already uploaded to Azure. All right, so we are now connected to Azure, and we have found that I have a service there called KK Test 1200, which is going to be the service that I'm going to deploy this to. I'm going to send it right to the production environment, and for storage of application binaries, I'm going to use this KK Storage 1 storage account. And I can go ahead and choose this certificate. We will see that we will get a warning with this certificate because it's not signed by an authority, but it's a certificate that we can use nonetheless. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is change some connection strings so that rather than referencing my SQL Express, I'm going to reference my SQL Azure database. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and build these connection strings. In fact, I am going to use my SQL Azure database. I'm going to have SQL Azure SQL Server Authentication. Sure, let's go ahead and save that. And the database name here that we're going to use is this KK Database 2. So yep, that seems to have worked okay. And I'm going to basically just do the same thing here for the user connection. Great. Okay, almost there. We are specify a certificate. We are not going to sign the ZAP file, so I'm going to just go ahead and next through this, and we'll probably get a warning when we go to use this. But let's go ahead and publish our application to Azure. And this is a process that will take a few minutes. We'll come back and check on it in a few. Okay, the project has been successfully published, and if I go back to my portal in Azure, I will see that I in fact have a here's my deployment, and we're just waiting for the instance to spin up here. Again, this will take another few minutes, typical sort of wait time that you see with any Azure deployment. Okay, some time has passed, and our instance is now running, and we can connect to it. And we will in a second. I wanted to just point out a couple of things that have been done on our behalf. If we take a look at the database, for example, we'll just click here, manage to go in and look at it in this nifty new Silverlight interface. Okay, so you can see what it's done here on our behalf is it's added some tables, the ASP.NET provider stuff, and here's my contact table, and yeah, so that's pretty interesting. It's created all of this based on the schema that existed in the SQL Express edition, so that's what it was doing for us behind the scenes, provisioning this schema on SQL Azure. Pretty neat. We didn't have to do anything to make that happen. Okay, and yeah, so let's go back to my account here, and we'll go ahead and click on this link. And we're getting a warning here, the certificate error, because the certificate has not been signed. But still, we can go ahead and, we are now putting data into SQL Azure. So all in all, pretty interesting stuff. Kind of enables us to get a forms over data application up and running in SQL or on Windows Azure very quickly and without writing any code. Obviously, now if we needed to, we could go in and we could modify the generated code for us, but a lot has been done for us behind the scenes here by the LightSwitch product for Visual Studio.